Welcome everybody. This is the fourth Geek Talk for the day, and we had the whole day of learning. So morning we started with Data Platform Geeks Geek Talk on DevOps with Alex Yates. Then I did implementing extended events, which was option one with respect to the time zone under SQL Maestros, followed by another Geek Talk with Edwin Sarmiento on Docker containers. That was under SQL Server Geeks, and I'm back again with SQL Maestros, option two in time zone, which is more friendly to US and Europe time zones, implementing SQL Server extended events. My name is Amit Bansal, and I am going to be your host for next 1 hour. And I'm going to talk a lot about extended events and show you a lot of demos. Now, many of you are watching this on Zoom, and some of you are on YouTube directly, and maybe some of you are on SQL Maestro's live streaming page. So here is my suggestion. We have room in Zoom. So if you want to switch over to Zoom application, it will be good because the interactivity is a little better. I mean, you can use the Q&A panel and the chat window to directly talk to me. So my colleagues Satya and Aarti, who are assisting me right now, they're going to put the Zoom link in the YouTube chat window. So come over. And if you are on SQL Maestro/live, sqlmaestros.com/live, if you are on that page, right on the top, the Zoom link with the passcode is available. So come over, most welcome. Now, yeah, here is my background, data platform virtualsummit.com. We're promoting this big conference, which is happening in collaboration with Microsoft, focusing on Azure data analytics and AI. And today we released the breakout sessions part 2. More than 100 sessions have been announced, and we focus a lot on content. That's why the background says content is king. More than 200 sessions are going to be delivered in this virtual conference. And the best part for the community is all of them are going to be recorded and will be provided to delegates at no extra cost. Not only breakout sessions, but also our training classes, which is pre-cons and post-cons, even they are going to be recorded, and the class registrants will get a copy of that as well. So all the content, watch anytime, anywhere, and as many times as you want. That's the beauty of DPS. So go to dataplatformvirtualsummit.com and check this out. Now, all of you have joined for extended events. There are a few links out there, and I will just do my quick introduction here. My name is Amit Bansal. I have been working with SQL Server for many years now. I started in 1999, worked as a developer, moved into database administration, and then started focusing on performance tuning. I am a Microsoft MVP, Microsoft Certified Master of SQL Server. I work full-time with SQL Maestros, but do a lot of community stuff with Data Platform Geeks, SQL Server Geeks, and of course, the virtual conference, which we organize for the community. If you need scripts for today's session, just drop an email to connectwithab@sqlmaestros.com. Again, the ID is there in the chat window, and we will provide to you. My Twitter handle is _Bansal. By any chance, if you are on Twitter and wish to connect with me, please do so. And maybe after the session, if you like it, do give some feedback on social media. Now, let's get started with extended events. One quick housekeeping rule here. If you have questions, please use the Q&A panel to put down your questions. I'll take up all the questions at the end of the session. So as I keep talking about extended events and I show you demos, many questions might pop up. Just keep punching them in, and then I will take them up at the end of the session. Now, what is the motivation behind doing this session on extended events, and why 2 options? And also last week I did part 1 and part 2. In last few months, in most recent engagements with our customers, I realized that many of our customers, pretty large customers who have big SQL Server deployments, have not been using extended events at all. And when I asked them this question as to what's the reason why you're not using extended events, here are some answers that I get. Answer number 1, they are just not aware of it. Answer number 2, they have been using Profiler, and Profiler just does the job for them, and they don't want to disturb that. That's the answer number 2. Answer number 3 is they are in the process of implementing it here and there, but have not really fully gone on board with that. Then another interesting answer that I got from some customers, that they had not so happy experience with extended events. Why? Because probably they tried extended events on some of their legacy servers, so to say, maybe 2008 or 2008 R2, and they weren't quite happy. Now, that motivated me to really promote extended events and talk about extended events a bit more. Extended events is very, very powerful. This feature, this tool was introduced in SQL Server 2008. Unfortunately, there was no graphical user interface. So if you really wanted to do something with X events, you had to write a lot of T-SQL code. And it is quite understandable that developers and DBAs who are so accustomed to using Profiler, of course, found extended events to be a bit cumbersome when you have to do the same thing with T-SQL code. That was reason number one. Reason number two was, of course, with any product, any feature, the first release always have a lot of rough edges, and extended events was no different. So the rough edges were there, the implementation was a little patchy, and that kind of put off many folks, and they did not implement it. But starting from SQL Server 2012, I can tell you extended events was really fixed up very well. It seemed like completely revamped. There was graphical user interface, and it really worked up to expectations. And starting from 2012, all the versions of SQL Server like 14, 16, 17, and 19 had great improvements, great enhancements in extended events. What exactly is extended events? Some think many of you are probably maybe new to extended events, or may have just tried around something, and I'm sure you've joined this session, so you may be wanting to see some real world demos. We'll get to that. But what exactly is extended events? Well, it is a replacement for Profiler. I'm sure all of you have been using SQL Profiler in some capacity or the other. I know DBAs and developers, they all run traces. And what extended events lets you do? Well, just like Profiler, it allows you to create a session, capture performance metrics, and then you can take some informed decisions based on the metrics that you capture. Very similar to Profiler. You have events, both in extended events as well as in Profiler. You have attributes, you have filters. There, the terminology is running a trace. Here, the terminology is running a session. Terminology-wise, there's a bit of difference here, but conceptually, they are the same. But the real advantage lies underneath, which is the performance aspect. Many of you who use Profiler know that SQL Server Profiler is like an external tool. It has limited capability as to the in-depth information that it can extract from SQL Server database engine. So if you want to do some deep dive troubleshooting in SQL Server, Profiler is not the right tool. It can't capture those real engine metrics that you want. Extended events can do that. While SQL Server Profiler is an external tool and does that surface level tracing, extended events is a code that is built inside the engine, so to say. So it's part of the SQL Server OS, it is part of the engine, and it can extract a lot of that information which actually no other tool can extract. That is one of the strongest reasons for using extended events. Another big reason is the overhead. Now, you have been running Profiler for many years on your production servers, and you know that it causes a lot of overhead. Think about running Profiler with dozens of events capturing data throughout the day, and you can probably realize the slowness it makes. Sometimes it will make SQL Server really crawl. So a tool that you are using to capture performance metrics itself becomes a hindrance to performance. That's the problem with Profiler. In contrast, extended events is very, very lightweight. It will be wrong on my part to say that there is no overhead. Of course, anything that you do on your box, X plus Y plus Z, any little thing, it will have that overhead. But the point, the trade-off here is extended events overhead is negligible, very, very minimal compared to Profiler. Now, this also would not mean that you can configure a whole lot of events in extended events and just keep them running infinitely. No, not really. As I said, just like Profiler, you got to be cognizant of the fact that you should only try to capture the information that you really need to troubleshoot performance. Now, these two reasons are strong enough for me to move from Profiler to extended events. And today I am going to demystify all of that. And in this course of our conversation and the demos, I am also going to talk about a few more motivational factors that favor extended events. Before I jump into demos, you also need to know that Microsoft SQL Server team has stopped investing in Profiler. And I think from last few years, there have been no improvement or enhancement in Profiler. I think it's announced for deprecation. It is, of course, not deprecated, so to say, in sense, because it's being used in production and millions of deployments are using it. So it's going to stay there for some time, but no more investments. All investments are going into extended events. And another great motivational factor is extended events work really well, great with all the new features of SQL Server. So when you talk about intelligent query processing, automatic tuning, adaptive joins, and whatnot, they all have their respective events configured in extended events. Well, with this quick and brief overview, it's time to jump into demos straight away. And I'm going to configure extended events, create sessions, and then show you some real work with extended events. Let me share the screen, and then I'm just going to check with you if you are able to see the screen. So just a second there. Okay, there you go. And let me share this with you. And I will just, here is Management Studio that's on. And yes, so can I just get a confirmation from some of the attendees in the chat window? If you can see SQL Server Management Studio with a select statement, please type in yes. That should be good enough. And there is a select statement, select start from person.person. Probably the simplest thing you will do with SQL Server is write a select statement without any filter. Okay, so yeah, I'm getting some confirmation. So all of you can see the screen. So, right, friends, let's get started with a demonstration. On the left-hand side in the Object Explorer, if you expand management, under management, you have extended events here. And under extended events, you have sessions. The first thing that you will observe that there are a few sessions that are configured by default. Well, this happens when you install SQL Server, and this is a vanilla installation of SQL Server. I haven't done any special configuration, and these are running by default. So this is SQL Server 2019. In earlier versions of SQL Server, I know that always and on health was there, system health was there, telemetry seems to be something new. So it really depends on which version of SQL Server you are in right now. Now these default sessions, you can see system health is running by default and telemetry services is also running, but always on health is stopped, of course, because there is no AG group or anything configured right now. What I'm going to do for the purpose of this demo is create a new session for ourselves. So let's go ahead and create a new session. When the dialog box comes over, you will see on the left-hand side, there are 4 pages: general, events, data storage, and advanced. Now I'm not using the wizard. I'm directly jumping into the dialog box here, and let's create a a session. So I'm going to call this as query metrics. Now we're going to capture query metrics. Capturing query performance, query statistics, query metadata is one of the most important things that you might, or more frequent stuff that you can do with extended events. You can choose a template, and this is really going to delight you that there are some profiler equivalents here. So Microsoft SQL team, of course, understands that you might be using templates even in profiler. So these represent the similar set of events and attributes that you have been using in profiler. So maybe you can pick up one of them. I'm going to work with a blank event because I'll show you how I can add each and every event explicitly, and I can configure them as well. There are a few interesting options here. Of course, the first one says start the event session at server startup, which is that you want this session to begin automatically or start automatically when SQL Server boots up. And you want the session to even start after you create it. So we'll check that option also, and we'll watch the live data. Watching the live data is very similar to what you have been doing in profiler as well. So let's go ahead and select all of them. One of the best practices with extended events here would be that once you configure it, you may want to play around with a few jobs that would start and stop the session based on certain time factors. So with the extended events framework, there are a lot of those stored procedures that come very handy. Please refer to Microsoft documentation for that. Let's jump to the next page now, events. And this is the place where you're going to spend most of your time. And the user interface here is not very intuitive, but it just does the job. So I'll kind of go a little slow here. Now, what you really want to do is capture events, right? You want to configure events, these events that get triggered based on certain activities that you are doing inside the database engine. Now, I want to do this real world stuff. So just yesterday, I recorded a video and I was trying to show implicit conversions and how implicit conversions affect query performance. If you want to watch that demo, you can just go to sqlmaestros.com, and probably right on the homepage, you will see a blog on implicit conversion. Now, I want to get notified whenever there is an implicit conversion inside the database engine and it is affecting the query plan choice. I want to capture that. So what I did, and I really just did it the hard way as I'm showing it to you without reading any documentation, I was trying to go and figure out if there is any event related to conversion. And when I typed conversion, you can see here, the moment I type conversion here, I can see that one of the events says plan affecting convert. That is the fourth one. And if I select this event, I will get some description here. This has been a good source of learning. Choosing the event and reading this one para description has been helpful. And this one clearly says that this is the one that I need. And it says occurs when a type conversion issue affects the plan choice, cardinality estimation, so on and so forth. So this is the one that I'm going to pick up. And let me select this and use this arrow here and bring it on the right hand side. So you can see this portion here where this gets selected. And as I said, the user interface is a little tricky here, but nonetheless, so you can see this gets selected. So I've taken conversion related event, which is plan effect conversion. Now, there's another thing that I want to do, which of course is not possible in Profiler, is capture weight statistics. Now, you all work with SQL Server in DBA, developer, architect, consulting, or any capacity, or just as a database engineer. When queries run slow, they might be just running fine, but they probably would be waiting on some resource inside the database engine. So SQL Server has a lot of those predefined wait types that you can capture. So if the query is literally in real sense, it's running fine, but could be waiting on a resource. If you can capture that wait information and then take corrective measures, that's what I really want to do. Such things are not possible in Profiler. In extended events, there is an event called wait info. So if I type wait here, I can see wait info. So whenever my query, the workload is waiting on some resource, it is going to get captured. Now, when I say this and when I choose this event, you will see something little unrealistic. Let me do this. Let me run the demo. Let me show it to you. And then I'm going to come back and fix a few things. So I'm just trying to make it as real world as possible. So let's take over wait info. And what is wait info event going to do? Whenever the query waits on a specific resource, it might be waiting for CPU cycles or memory grants, or it's waiting on IO port to complete when it's reading the data page from disk into memory. All such things are going to get captured. And in fact, blocking scenarios as well, because blocking scenarios is also kind of query waiting on a specific resource to acquire a specific type of lock. So we have taken wait info. Now let's take one very popular statement that event that we all use even in Profiler and as well as here, which is SQL statement completing. Now, the moment I type SQL, batch complete, batch starting, all these are common things that we play around with. SP, stored procedure statement starting in completing. But just for the purpose of demo, and because I want to keep it very neat, clean, and simple for the purpose of demo, I'm just going to take one event here, which is SQL statement completed, because SQL statement completed is the one that gives me the required information. Now, when I choose a specific event, I already took two events. I'm taking this third event now, and I didn't talk about the fields for each of these events. So each event here comes with a specific set of fields, which is called as the payload. And you can see this right here. So when I talk about SQL statement completed, you can see these default fields, the data that is going to be provided to us in the live window and in our target. So we're going to get CPU time, duration, reads, logical reads, physical reads, so on and so forth. Some of these fields are similar to what you see in Profiler, but there are some additional information also. So these are the fields that are going to get captured. Now, there is no way for you to customize them. This is the default payload that will automatically come in. Let's pick them up and take them on the right hand side. When you have these events, friends, you can configure them or maybe just filter them based on category, channel, and package. These are different ways of categorizing and classifying the events. In this session, I don't want to jump into the depth of these categorizations and classifications, but please read more about them in Microsoft documentation. Now comes the most important part, which is configuring these events. Just selecting the events is just not enough. You want to configure them further. Looks like, where did the mouse go? Okay, let me, okay, there you go. Oops. Okay, there you go. So this is where you will configure them, which means now from this page, you will slide down on the right hand side to another page. I'm clicking on it and there you go. Now comes the configuration section. So for each event that you have selected, you can select some global fields. Now global fields are technically in extended events framework terminology are called as actions. These are extra parameters, extra attributes that you can configure and the data for which will be provided to you. So for example, if we take, let's say, plan effect conversion, SQL statement, wait info, if I select all three of them, there could be some common fields here that I want to take. So I want to take database name, for example. Let's scroll down and the common things that we would take. Let's say we want to take session ID. So I'm picking up session ID and I'm also picking up SQL text. Let me zoom in and show to you what I have really chosen. So I've taken session ID. You can see a tick mark there, SQL text. And then let's scroll up a bit. Okay, it went up, which is database name. So I've taken these extra fields. So that's global fields. The next thing that you may want to do is filter predicate. Now this is really important and I want to spend some time on this. Just because extended events is lightweight doesn't mean that you just capture thousands and thousands of events and start dumping them in ring buffer, which is the memory area where extended events data gets stored temporarily, or put them in file. I would still recommend that filter and be very specific and precise exactly what you want to capture that may aid you in your performance troubleshooting endeavors. This bit of difference here with the profiler, and that is where extended events has an advantage over profiler. When you work with profiler and you do this filtering, predicate is also available in profiler. But the way the profiler tool works is if you apply a filter, profiler will still capture all the data from the database engine and then filter it and give you the filtered result set, which means it's not really helping reducing the overhead on the database engine. It's still capturing everything and it's filtering it at a later stage. In extended events, because this is the code which is built inside the engine itself, any filter that you specify here works at the entry level. So right when the data is getting captured, it gets filtered out. You can cut down all the noise and only get selected filtered data, which is good because it really reduces the overhead even further on the database engine. Now, what kind of filter do I want here? For the purpose of demo here, I am going to ensure that these events will only capture data related to the dummy database here, the user database, which is Adventure Works. So I'm going to say SQL Server database name equals to, let's say, Adventure Works 2016. Let me expand and show this, to you. Okay, looks like I clicked on OK by mistake, but no worries. So let me go back to the properties again, go to the events and click on configure and go to predicate. So predicate was not configured. Now I'm going to do this again. Sorry about that. So I'll just take these three. And do I need to take the global fields again? Yes, those were taken, but filter predicate was not configured. Oh, it was configured. Good. So this was done. I just clicked on OK by mistake. There you go. So Adventure Works. And this is I took the equality operator. It just changing it to equalize equal Unicode string. That's fine. It's all the same. So we have done that. The other two pages now are data storage. Where do you want to store the data? And some advanced options. Data storage. I'll quickly just talk about data storage here, and you will be delighted to see that The only option is not to store the extended events data in a file. For example, in Profiler, you probably just have a file as a target, but here you have event file. You can store it in ring buffer, which is an area in memory. You have histogram, you have pair matching. These are some advanced options. For example, pair matching is really good when you want to trace certain activity. When does it start and when does it end? For example, a pair matching like SQL statement starting and SQL statement completing. SP statement starting, SP statement completing, SQL batch starting, SQL batch completing. That's like pair matching. Histogram, if you just want to do some analytics, you don't want to really dive into the depth of the metrics that was captured, fine grained metrics, but you just want to see a high level overview like a bar graph, then you can use histogram as the target. So these are some of the advanced options that can help you in doing better analysis of the performance data that you capture. Well, for the purpose of demo here, I'm not specifying any target, so I'll just click on remove because I'm watching live and I will show you right there. Now I'm going to click on OK, and the moment you do that, the live window opens up. And remember, we had configured that I want to see the data live the moment the event starts. And now it is retrieving information from the server. Remember, we have given a filter that data will come in only from AdventureWorks 2016. Now let's play around a bit. Let's fire a few statements. So let's go and fire select star from person.person. This is something that we wanted to do, the most simplest thing. Let's go and execute this. You get the data, and when you go back to the live window, you can see something, and you probably will be a bit surprised now. 12,498 events got captured with a single select statement. Now, this is overwhelming, and you will be like, oh, what's going on? I mean, are we crazy here? No, we're not crazy. We will see why this is like this. But I'll come to wait info. So most of these events are wait info, as you can see, 12,498. And if I just kind of scroll this up a bit to show you, all these events are wait info that have been captured. But at the end, you will see one, and of course there's one which is the SPID in the beginning, but then here is this one, SQL statement completed. And if I scroll down in the details section, you can see the event that is getting captured, select start from person.person. Now the question is, first things first, 12,000 events, do you really want to capture every wait that has happened when this select statement was running? Now you got to think about this. Waits are something that will always happen inside SQL Server, right? Every time your workloads are being fired, dozens of different types of waits are going to be encountered, but their duration, their wait time is just going to be negligible, probably less than a microsecond, right? I'm talking not millisecond, even less than a microsecond. That could be the wait time, but that shouldn't really bother you. You want to capture wait information if your query is waiting, and probably you may have that common sense here that we want to only capture waits when, let's say, the wait is more than 5 seconds, or let's say when the wait is more than 2 seconds or 10 seconds. That is the filter that you can apply. Now 12,498 events are captured, and I want to fix this right here because I don't really want to capture this kind of data which is not going to be useful to me at all. So I'm going to go to query metrics, and this is what I said, that I'm going to do it the wrong way a bit in the beginning, and then I'm going to go and fix it. And now I'm going to fix it. I'll go to events and go to configure. And remember, we were providing some predicates here. So I'm going to say wait info, and I am going to go into filter predicate, and I will say wait info, and here where the duration is, let's say, greater than 5 seconds. So which means 5,000 milliseconds. Remember, duration is in milliseconds. So this is the predicate that I have configured for wait info. Now when the wait, whenever the workload encounters a wait type, if the wait duration is more than 5 seconds, then only it will capture this, hopefully. Let's go and click on OK here. And now when this data is there, let's go and clear the data. This is the live window. I'm going to show you some more good GUI stuff with this live window. Let's clear this. And let's go and fire the select statement once more. And let's see what do we get in the live window. So the select statement is fired, you get the data, and let's jump into this and now you only get the SQL statement completed. You don't get any wait info. Now, this is what I really wanted to show you, that how you can filter right at the configuration level. The data gets filtered right in the extraction point, you know, and you only get relevant, important information. Now, your question will be, okay, let's create a wait scenario where wait is more than 5 seconds, and let's see if that gets captured. Yeah, let's do that. So why not create a wait scenario? So I'm going to create a wait scenario right here, live demo, live typing. So I'm going to say begin tran, and let's create a blocking scenario, a simple blocking scenario. We are going to say update person.person, and I'm going to say set last name equals to, let's say, Bansal, where business entity ID is equal to 1. Now, this is an in-flight transaction. Let's go ahead and execute this. Now, this statement is running in-flight transaction. An exclusive lock is being held on the record. And now what we are going to do is create another user, simulate another user who wants to retrieve data from the same table. So now you know that this transaction, of course, this is an implicit transaction, would want a shared lock, and an exclusive lock is already held by the other user. So shared and exclusive locks are incompatible. Let's go and execute this, and this is going to wait. And let's wait for 3, 4, 5, 6. Done. We are more than 5 seconds. Let's go and roll this back. Okay, and let's see, wait is going to be completed. Roll back, done. Let's go back to the other window, and you will see the query gets executed and the output comes. Now, let's close this window here for the moment and jump to the window where we are capturing the data. So you see a couple of SQL statement completed, that's fine, but where is our wait info? There you go. We have the wait information right here. Now let me just zoom in a bit here, and you can see that wait info event gets captured. And you can see the duration, it was about 13 seconds. So by the time it crossed over and I did the rollback and all of that, it was 13 seconds of wait. Now there is an operation code here, of course, which means, as I said, every wait has a start and an end event. And because we have filtered that the duration has to be greater than 0, we only get the end part, because the start part, the duration is going to be 0, of course. Session ID 88, and we also get the SQL text. Now this is also important. So you know exactly which workload was waiting on which wait type. In this particular case, it was LCKMS, which means lock mode shared, which means this query, this workload on session ID 88 was waiting to acquire a shared lock, and the duration was 13 seconds. All great. Now, you know, when you are capturing so many different events, so many different fields, and in real world, in production servers, this is going to be again overwhelming. Despite you provide a lot of filters and predicates to cut down on the noise, still the amount of data that is going to get captured is going to be humongous probably. So what we need to do is, I will take 5 minutes or so and show you some cool features in extended events that can help you being more productive and efficient with extended events. One such thing is, in this live window, by default, you can see the name of the event and timestamp. When you want to apply certain filters in the live window, because you know, when live windows has all these thousands and thousands of events coming in, and when you want to do your analysis, you may want to apply the filters in the window. I'm not talking about the filter that you apply while you're configuring the session. That is different. This filter is when you have the data in front of you and you want to play around with it. Something like Excel filters. You have the data, you go to the column and apply filters. That's what we will do. So to have those columns, I can choose certain columns from here. Let's say I can right click on duration and show the column in table. When I do that, now you can see that duration is an additional column that is being shown here, and I can always right click and choose column. So you can see choose column. So I can choose certain columns that I want in the live window. Now, when you have, let's say, assuming you have thousands of events in this window and you want to only filter on certain events where the duration is more than 5 seconds or 10 seconds. In this window itself, let's stop the data for the time being. Let's stop the feed, the live data feed that is coming in. And there is something called as filters here on the toolbar. Here in the toolbar, just to digress a bit, there are a lot of these great options like grouping. You have a lot of these good features like grouping, aggregation, and filters. So take advantage of these. These are little things, but very, very powerful. So for example, I want to apply a filter and I want to filter on duration. So I can say where the duration is, let's say greater than, and let's say 5,000. And if I apply, you can see now the data in the window gets filtered and I can only see events where the duration is greater than 5 seconds. That's the beauty. You can also filter on the time aspect, because in real world, again, sessions that you have configured, and you are not just going to configure one session, you might configure multiple sessions. They might be running throughout the day, and you can filter on specific time periods, specific hours. So that is the time filter, and you can really use these sliders or just punch in the time, start time and end time. So this filter comes really handy. Let's cancel this. And oh, sorry, we have already applied this. So I will remove this, clear all, and click on OK. So now you're getting all the data. So that is filter, very powerful. The other thing that comes quite handy, and when I'm working with extended events, is grouping. Because again, variety of events. In this demo, I've only showed you 3 events, but really in the real world. And why real world? If you just look at the system health event, it's capturing dozens and dozens of events. So if you want to really group by events and you want to see a count kind of thing, you can group by multiple fields here. So let's click on grouping and select name. I want to group by name of the event, and I click on OK and see the output now. So you get a nice group by that you have applied on name, and you can see the count of events for each particular event. And then it of course gives you the drill down capability to investigate things further. One of the common usage again here is when you're capturing all this query metrics, you want to do some mathematics, right? Like summation, minimum, maximum, average. You can do all of that. So once you have done the grouping, you may want to do aggregation, very similar to T-SQL, right? So you group by and then you apply your aggregation. So let's say you want to sum on duration. So you can just select and choose sum and click on OK. And now what you will get, across this group of event, you can look at the duration. This comes really handy when you want to play around with, like, say, wait info, or you want to capture query statistics and do a lot of mathematics on the attribute. Let's go and clear all this off. Okay, let me go back and let me remove the grouping as well and get to the raw format. All right, let's clear this data now, and let's play this again. There was one more event that we were capturing, right? Which was plan, effect, conversion, something like that. Let me show you an example of that. Too many windows out there. Let's close them first. And if the other window is not open, I'll just open it. Okay, it's already open here. There you go. Now, this is a very simple query, a select statement that is going to do implicit conversion. And as I said, implicit conversions are bad for performance reasons, and they may consume extra CPU cycles. And I want SQL Server to capture it, the extended events. We have configured this. So let me turn on actual execution plan and execute this first. So when I execute this, I get the output. If I jump into the execution plan, you can see the select the operator there with a warning symbol here, which clearly says, yes, there was type conversion, something, convert implicit, and which may affect seek plan in query plan choice. So there is an implicit conversion that has happened, and I want to be notified when something like this happens. Let's go and look into extended events, and you can see plan affecting convert. It does get captured. So this is important. So this is a nice little technique to know about all these implicit conversions that are happening inside SQL Server, and then maybe you can take corrective measures. What do I mean by corrective measures? Well, in this case, it's relatively very simple. Let's go and clear the data, and let's just fix this. And for example, you get notified, you know which workload it is. Did I show that to you? Okay, you saw the select statement in the details. So I know the workload, I figured this out, I apply the fix. Let's go and execute this. If you look into the execution plan, no more warning. Let's go back to the metrics, all plain and simple. Right? Extended events, quite powerful. And really, extended events is so huge. There are so many events, so many scenarios where it is so powerful. And it's not only about performance metrics. A lot of server level activity, auditing, capturing database related information, instance level information, capturing internal health and state information of SQL Server. Everything can be done with extended events. So many usage scenarios. Why one session? Even a dozen of such live sessions are not going to be enough to cover extended events. Well, beyond this point, I will leave it to you to explore more about extended events. My best source is Microsoft documentation, a lot of great information out there. Well, with this, let me minimize and yes, and I am willing to now invite questions and please use the Q&A panel to put down your questions. And while you are doing that, give me a minute to just talk about the Data Platform Virtual Summit. I briefly spoke about it, but I want to share with you about my class that I am doing as part of Data Platform Virtual Summit. So this is SQL Server Performance Tuning Fast Track. There are many classes and there are many better classes than my class as part of this event. But if you're really keen on performance tuning, there are 3 classes, if I can remember correctly. One is by myself, one is by another colleague and friend of mine, Eric Darling, maybe you know him, and another friend and colleague of mine, Uwe Rickenford from Germany, and Eric Darling is from the US, and I'm from India. All 3 of us are doing something to do with performance. So go to Data Platform Virtual Summit and you can sign up for these classes. Things to note: 8-hour class. So this is like a full day class, 8 hours, but not really full day in execution. It's 4 hours split into 2 days. So 4 hours each day makes it 8 hours. And very demo heavy stuff and advanced real world stuff from all 3 of us. Feel free to sign up based on whatever your liking is. The best part, you're going to get class recordings, as I mentioned earlier. So watch them anytime, anywhere, as many times as you want. So that was a quick introduction. Just go to dataplatformvirtualsummit.com. More stuff from me is on sqlmaestros.com. And you can also subscribe to a newsletter, subscribe to Connect with AB. Links are there in the chat window if you want all these scripts that I'm playing with. So drop a mail to connectwithab@sqlmaestros.com. I am on Twitter, _Bansal. You can follow up me there. And now I'm ready to take questions. And I will request my colleagues Satya and Aarti to import those YouTube chat questions as well. So yes, friends, let's bring them on, all the questions now. And in case you have no questions and if you're planning to leave, while I would recommend that you stay on because there's a lot you can learn from others' questions. So stick around for some more time, but if you're just going away, thanks for joining and hope it was worth your time. Goodbye. Now over to questions. Right, so the first question has come in. The first question is by John, and John has a question. If we create a session, it will capture some info based on the actions what we have selected. While it's capturing the info, will it impact any performance issue running SQL queries? So John, your question is, while events are capturing information, will it generally affect SQL Server performance or query performance for the workloads that are running? As I mentioned, John, extended events is very lightweight. So don't worry about it at all. Go ahead and use extended events. It's not really going to affect SQL Server or your other workloads. However, you need to be careful about certain things. First, as I mentioned, best practice, don't capture anything and everything. Be very selective with your events and be very selective with the amount of data those events are capturing. So apply the right filter. So cut down all the noise. That's one. Second is, there are certain best practices and certain attributes that you need to be aware of, which might add additional overhead. For example, if you are deep into query tuning, you may really want to play around with execution plans. So the question is, capturing execution plans as part of extended events might have an additional overhead on SQL Server, slightly more than normal. That is something which you may not want to do because it's a huge chunk of XML fragmentation that gets captured as part of the execution plan. So take care of such things. Yeah. Otherwise, we are all good with extended events. Thanks, John, for the question. Right, friends. So right, you see, as I said, that you can learn a lot from questions. So that was a great question. And it also helped me give you more additional information. More questions, please use the Q&A panel. And yeah, I'm going to type down this my Twitter handle _Bansal. If you like the session, please do give some feedback online as well. Any questions from YouTube, Satya?
No questions as of now.
Okay, great. Well, with this, friends, if you have questions beyond this session, please use our forums. There are forums on Facebook, forums on LinkedIn, and I will ask my colleague to put down certain forum links in the chat window. We have forum on Telegram as well. We don't use WhatsApp, we use Telegram because it hides your mobile number. So good for privacy, and you can have more than 200, 300 members. So you can definitely join Telegram and talk to SQL geeks from your mobile and ask questions. I can help you there. So that's the link there, friends, on in the chat window, dataplatformgeeks.com, our social channels. I mean, we've configured all of them in one place, so feel free to join them. Right. With this, I will wind up the session now. Another info for all of you: the Geek Talk, the lecture plus live demos for next Thursday is already configured. I'm coming back next Thursday, and two options again we have for different time zones, option 1 and option 2. The topic for next Thursday is 3 query tuning techniques that might solve 50% of your performance problems. That's for developers and DBAs alike. So if you want to get some real good T-SQL tips to improve query performance, join that session. That's already up there. You just have to go to sqlmaestros.com/live. Probably that's the place where you went to register for this session. Same link, sqlmaestros.com/live. Join in, share it with your friends and colleagues, and spread the word so that they can get some free training. So the link is up there in the chat window. Well, with this, I hope to see you next week again on Thursday. Apart from SQL Maestros, there are Data Platform Geeks, Geek Talk as well, and SQL Server Geeks, Geek Talk also. I will just ask Satya to put those links also up there. So any topic that interests you, just go and register and come over. Bring your friends and colleagues also. And yes, I hope that you would visit dataplatformvirtualsummit.com. I really encourage you, because the pricing of that conference is really, really low, very pocket friendly, very community friendly. And you get all the recordings absolutely free, no extra cost. So join the conference, bring some friends along, and hope to see you in our upcoming events. Continue learning from us. Have a good day. Hope this was worth your time. Thank you and bye.